It was one of those bone-chilling nights in the Frost Peak Mountains, Colorado Territory, back in '82, when Jack Harlan, that's me, heard this faint wail cutting through the blizzard like a knife. I was out checking traps on my old horse, thinking nothing could drag me off that path. But there it was again, sharper, desperate. Turned out to be not one cry, but three tiny ones, mixed with a woman's ragged breaths. I pushed through the drifts, boots sinking like lead, and found her Eliza Thorne lashed to a splintered post with rusted chain, bruises blooming across her face like storm clouds, and at her feet, three newborn girls bundled in rags, barely hanging on against the freeze. I didn't think twice, cut her loose with my knife, the metal biting into her wrists, blood mixing with snow, but she didn't even whimper, just whispered, "Save my babies, please." Scooped him all up, tucked the little ones Clara, Lily, Nora, she'd name him later, against my coat, and got us back to my shack, this rickety pile of logs that barely kept the wind out. Lit the fire high, warmed goat's milk on the stove, spooned it into those tiny mouths while Eliza lay there, eyes half shut, fighting off the cold that had seeped into her soul. That night, as the flames crackled, she stirred enough to tell me Bitts married young to Victor Slade, this big-shot rancher twice her age, who promised the world but delivered hell. He wanted a son to inherit his sprawling lands, you see, to keep his grip on the valley's water rights, and cattle empire girls were just useless mouths, he'd snarl, kicking her for each one born without that heir he craved. After the triplets, he snapped, dragged her out here in the dead of winter, chained her up, and rode off, calling it fate's judgment, all because without a boy, his legacy crumbled, and he blamed her for his own twisted pride. Days blurred into weeks, the snow melting slow, and something shifted in that cramped cabin. This lone wolf who'd lost my own family to fever years back, found purpose in her quiet strength, the way she'd hum old hymns to the girls, her voice cracking but steady. I'd carve their names into pine slabs, hang 'em above the cradle like talismans, and she'd watch me with eyes that said more than words ever could. Gratitude, yeah, but deeper, like roots taking hold in rocky soil. We'd talk little, but when we did, it was raw. I thought I was lucky at first, she'd say, voice low. Silk dresses, feather beds, but he treated me like livestock, worse when no sun came. I'd nod, sharpening my blade by the fire, feeling that old anger stir not just for her, but for how power twists folks, how Victor's greed for land and control poisoned everything, even his own blood. Then spring hit, and with it, trouble word trickled up from the lowlands via my neighbor Bess, this tough widow who'd ride miles to warn us. Victor had spread lies, calling Eliza unhinged, hiring roughnecks to reclaim his property, all to save face and snag those girls as leverage for his empire, maybe marry him off later for alliances. They showed up one stormy dusk, for shadows on horseback, Victor leading with that smug scar twisting his lip. I stepped out, unarmed, heart pounding but voice steady. "She ain't yours no more," he sneered, pistol glinting, blood's blood. "Harlan, and those lands need an heir. Hand him over, or I'll burn this hovel down." The air crackled, his men circling like wolves, one barking, "You think you're a hero? She's just a broodmare gone wrong." I stood firm. "She belongs to herself, Slade, and you'll rot before you touch him." And that's when the first blow came, rifle butt to my shoulder, pain exploding like fire, but I didn't fall easy. But here's the twist that still gets me. Eliza, who'd slipped out back with the girls per my plan, didn't run far. She doubled back, fetched the sheriff from town, this grizzled lawman named Croft who'd heard whispers of Victor's brutality and hated how rich men bent justice. They burst from the trees as Victor raised his gun, Croft yelling, "Drop it. Slater faced the noose for what you did." Eliza stepped forward, girls bundled safe, her voice cutting sharp, "Tell him, Victor, how you left us to die for your precious legacy. Or I will." He froze, face paling, muttering curses as the deputies cuffed him, his empire crumbling right there in the mud, hauled off screaming about rights. But we all knew it was greed's downfall, pure and ugly. We rebuilt after that, turned the shack into Harlan's haven, a way station for drifters needing stew and shelter, chopping wood, Eliza teaching local kids letters by the hearth, the girls toddling about, their laughter like sunshine after rain. We didn't need a preacher, One night, fire low, I took her hand. You're worth more than any land, Eliza. And she smiled, real and warm. Our vows whispered like secrets to the mountains. Life bloomed, but here's what lingers, what folks argue about. Was Victor's fall true justice, or just luck in a lawless land where power still whispers threats? Could he worm free with bribes, come back hungrier? Makes you wonder about those hidden battles in every community. What do you think, did we get it right, standing against that kind of poison? Or is there always a gray area in fights like these? Drop a comment below, share your take on justice, family feuds, or those HOA nightmares in your own backyard. Hit subscribe if stories like this hit home. We've got more where the heart wins out. Thanks for listening.